All right, so we just completed our lesson on advanced collections, Fusion Advanced Collections. What we're going to do is that we're actually going to go out there and look a little bit at the collection dashboards that we have in our system. So let me kind of go ahead. We're going to start off with the first one. So what they're going to have you do first is they're going to have you go in and look at a particular customer record. All right, once we've gone out there and looked at the customer record, then we're going to go back in as Mr. Jim Jones, and we're going to review what the dashboard is associated with that particular record. So we're going to use our current ID. Then once we're done with the reviewing the customer record again, then what's going to happen is that we're going to go into the collections dashboard so we can look at the information itself. All right, so in your book, I'm starting off with PDF page 218. Right. So where we're starting off with is that we're going to come underneath the navigator, and we're going to go into customer. All right. All right, we're just waiting for our screen to refresh. Now, what this kind of gives you an idea of what the basic collection record looks like. What we're going to do is that we're going to go out there and find a specific account, and the account that we're going to be working with is going to be 160. Okay. And let's go out there and do a search. All right, so what we're seeing in here is that the first tab is all about our transactions. We can go out there, we can see what, once again, installments. I can go out there and I can identify the dates that we're actually going to go out there and look at. We can see what the days late are, so we can see that this account is extremely delinquent over here. And then if needed be, we could go out there, we can identify what's an unpaid reason. We can also go out here, hang on a second, is that I have the ability of getting into the disputes. I can go out there and I'm going to say, okay, let's do a dispute. We can do an adjustment. I can go out there and do a preview. And then on top of that, over here are my actions. Once again, they represent my action items here, just represent exactly what these 4 buttons are representing. So I clicked on the dispute button, and what I can do is I can go out there and I can say, what kind of dispute are we doing here? And I can say it's shipping, and I can say, what's the dispute reason? Okay, they're letting me know that, so let me choose a different dispute. All right, let's go out there and say line subtotal. There we go. Over here, here's my dispute reason. What's going to happen here? We've got a damaged product. Okay, and then what we can do is that I can go ahead and I can provide what is known as a summary here for this particular transaction. Okay, so a little bit about dispute. I'm not going to go out there and do much more than that. All right, we've got the aging tab. All right, down here we can see based upon this particular individual, what are we looking at? Are we doing like 1 through 30, 31 through 60, 61 through 90? And we get to see the amounts that are outstanding based upon the aging bucket that we've got established there. Over here, this is where we can go out there and we can create a particular note. Okay. And then I can go out there and I can just say what's the type of note. Is this a reference, special note? Once again, you get to go out there and identify what your note type is going to be, how you want to categorize it. And as you can see, this is just a fairly simple word layout that we can go out there and leverage. Okay, just to show you that. Over here, we can go ahead and we can look at my contact information. So we get to see here are my contact names. We can see what their title is going to be. And then what we can do is that I'm on Evelyn Duncan. We can go out there and we can review what her telephone number is. And this, we're also identifying that the purpose of her as an account manager, she's part of our collections. Over here is going to be my correspondence. Okay, and we can see that we have sent out a final demand letter. As a matter of fact, Evelyn's been very thorough at it. She's been sending a final demand letter every month, and her method of sending this out has been through an email. Maybe it's time to go out there and think about sending an actual letter or invoice over there, and she's been doing that as well. Over here is my communication tab. This would be, now we don't have, as you can see, a lot of information here, but this is where I could go out there and put in some additional data for the customer about email addresses, phone numbers as well. Okay, and then what we see down here at the bottom of the record, we're seeing all the addresses that are associated with this particular client. Over here, all we're doing here is that we're seeing some of our data involving the profile class. We see the payment terms, the statement cycle. They apparently prefer to be sent via an email. We see their currency limits. I think $1 is a little bit too much there. And then what we're doing is that we've activated the ability of sending dunning letters and sending statements. This assignment of Jim Jones to this client is at the customer level rather than at the address level. And then what my activities tab can do is that I can select a particular item, and I can say, you know what, let's go out there and do a search. And then what the system is going to do is that it's going to go out there and it's going to say, okay, let's go out there and look at all of the activities. So my activities tab, it can go out there and we can see things such as partial payments. And so that's all this is, all we're doing here. Okay, so this is what I see. I'm being given access to a little bit of the same information that my collection manager can go out there and work with as well. Let me go ahead and sign out. I'm going to sign back in as Jim Jones. Just a little a note, it's probably a little late to be bringing this up, but these user IDs, they're basically using the same password that was given to you so every time I change the user ID, I'm just using the same password that was assigned to me for this particular environment. Right. So I'm now over to my Jim Jones area. Going to go ahead, go over here to my navigator. Now, as you can see, we've been working underneath the applications, implementations, and you've seen that we've had a lot of job roles and duty roles, and we've had a lot of functions. We can see that Jim Jones is very specialized. His primary function is to go out there and collect the money. So you're seeing that he really doesn't have as many activities or as many duties to perform. So let me go into my collections dashboard. All right, so underneath his collections dashboard, we're seeing all of his customers that he's been associated with. And what I can do is I can say, you know what, let's go ahead and update the work status. So if I am successful, I can go ahead and I can say, let's open this up. And I can say, you know what, let's do a follow-up. And then I can say, you know what, ignore, or we can do a hold. So I can go out there and I can update my work status on this particular client. Let me go ahead and cancel. Over in here, in one area, I get to see what their statuses are. So we're in computers, services, and rentals. We can see that they have, oh, I don't know, it looks like about $10 million outstanding. Okay, it's about time to take those folks to court. And based upon our buckets, we get to see about the 130, the 60, the 90, the 120. This looks like a 7-bucket strategy to me. Down here, this is where we can go ahead and I can look at my activities. Okay. And I can go ahead and I can say, okay, what kind of activities do we need to do? And I'm going to say, you know what, let's just go out there and look at all the tasks. I'm not seeing where we've set up any activities. So I can go out here And I can identify what the subject is and what the due date is and what the category is. And I'm going to have to say, okay, I need to go out there and do a call. And let's just say call the client. A call. No, I was going to put deadbeats in there, but I can't do that. All right. Identify the due date that was going out there. Okay, yes, yes, yes. We're going to go ahead, identify the customer that I'm going to be working with, any contacts that I'm going to be working with, and then at that particular point, then I can go out there and I can just save that particular information. Okay. All right. Then once I've got this established, I just go out there and I'm going to say save and close. Okay. All right. So basically, this is where Jim Jones spends his life. This is where Jim Jones spends his life. Down in here, this is where we've got my customer search. Okay. And once again, I can go out there and I'm going to say, okay, what do we want to do? Just very similar to the search we did. Do I want to do it at the customer level, which is the name? Do we look at their customer account or do we look at their address? And then if I'm running any background processes, we were talking about how we've got the summarization process. And once again, they recommend that the summarization process for my metrics should be done before we go out there and rerun my dunning letters. Okay. So that's all the dashboard is about. Gives you a little taste and flavor of what we can see with just some basic data over in my receivables area versus what the collector actually sees. So with that, concludes our presentation involving a little bit of a dashboard, a little bit of what the end user interface looks like.